I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 2024 regular meeting of the Clemson Board of Architectural Review. My name is Kyle McCormick, and I'm serving as acting chairperson of this meeting. The other members in attendance today will now introduce themselves.
Nathan Shaw,
Pete Metzko.
Andrew Neptune,
David Allison.
The Clemson Planning and Codes office staff member in attendance today is Jacob Peabody. Our recording secretary of this meeting is Rebecca Wilbanks. Bar members are appointed by Clemson City Council. Our responsibilities focus on the design aspects of projects located within one of 5 architectural overlay districts in the city of Clemson. A copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting can be found outside in the lobby. If you are a member of the public and would like to speak tonight regarding a matter on the agenda, you will need to read and sign the speaker's form. On the back of the speaker's sign-in form is a list of things that fall within our purview and a list of things that do not. You will be asked for the signed form should you choose to speak. Anyone speaking will be required to stand at the podium, and there will be no speaking from the audience. We ask that you please state your name and address if you choose to speak at the podium. The meeting will be conducted in the following manner. For each agenda item, we will hear a report from planning staff. After the staff report, the applicant will be given the opportunity to present their application and demonstrate it complies with the relevant criteria. Any resident or owner of a business or property in the city of Clemson is allowed to comment on the application and provide feedback to us at each stage. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to provide feedback and comments. We ask, please consider appointing a spokesperson if there are multiple people wishing to speak on the same topic. Questions asked by us do not count towards your time limit. At its discretion, we may allow the applicant 3 minutes for a rebuttal. All comments and questions must be directed at me, and I'll respond to the question or direct it to the appropriate party for response. Any written comments received by the planning office a week ago or longer have already been submitted to our bar and will be considered in our decision. After all comments are offered, I will close the hearing portion of the meeting, and we will discuss and evaluate the information presented in the context of the requirements of the city code. We ask that you please turn off your cell phones or place them in silent mode, and as a reminder to our board members, please avoid crosstalk and speak clearly. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting. So our first item tonight will be the adoption of the May 7th, 2024 minutes. I reviewed them earlier and I saw no changes to make. Anyone have any changes to the minutes?
No, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'm looking for a second. All those in favor to approve the May 7th, 2024 minutes as written, raise your right hand. Okay, so moved. We do have a pretty packed agenda tonight, and so we are going to be shuffling around some items in order to keep this moving. We will be starting with a variance application in our public hearing portion of the meeting. It is 2024-AR-05. Applicant Preston Kendall of Ingalls Market LLC is requesting a variance from section 19-701I.6 to exceed maximum 25% of the surface area of the window be used for signage at 854 Old Greenville Highway. So with that, I will turn to Jake for our staff report on that item.
Okay, so this comes, the city's been doing kind of like a whole citywide crackdown on coverage of windows, kind of got out of control. So we're trying to bring everyone into compliance. Only 25% of any window can be covered with film. And they have asked for a variance from that requirement. This is for the area that they guess they have like an office right behind it. And they've had it there for quite a few years, but as we've been going around the city trying to bring everyone to compliance, it did come to light that they were in excess of the 25% requirement. Now you guys can rule on it and say you don't want it at all, they have to take it off. You could say that you want to have heavily tinted, mirrored glass, allow them to have graphics. You guys have full discretion if you do choose it or you can deny it. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant to give their presentation to why they deserve it.
Is our applicant here this evening?
Well, that makes that one easy. Okay, well, we'll be going for next month.
Okay. Well, we are going to move on then to the second item on the public hearing section of our meeting. 2024-AR-07, applicant Sergi is requesting a variance from table 19-11102.A.2 predominant exterior building material at 120 Liberty Drive. So I'll turn to Jake.
Okay, and these ones are, because it's part of a larger application, it's kind of hard to discuss them without discussing the project as a whole, so feel free to, discuss project. Now, this project consists of two buildings. You have kind of the strip mall in the front, which needs a variance for the fenestration, which is like the glass coverage for both the side facing Liberty and for the side facing the parking lot. Then I guess the variance that we're looking at right now is for then there's the building in the back, which is the large gymnasium, which needs a variance for the percentage of use of corrugated metal, which is if you're over 70% of the predominant building, considered predominant building material, and for fenestration of glass, I believe. So those are your two variances. One building has to have a variance from both, and then the front building only has a variance from the fenestration. Okay? And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant to give their presentation. And I guess first we're handling the predominant building material for the gymnasium.
Good evening. Rob Seal, RMS Architecture, here in town. So pretty much to recap where we talked about last month, and David, you weren't here, good to see you. What we have is, as Jacob said, we've got two buildings on this site. For the sake of this purpose, we're calling the front the Liberty Drive elevation, which is at the bottom of the screen. The office building will, in effect, screen the larger gym, which is behind it. And also, you'll be tucked in where the existing trees cover it from 123. So, as far as the exterior materials go, the office building is planned to be a pre-engineered metal structure as well, with a single slope toward the alley, which gives us the front elevation along Liberty Drive, where we're going to have a combination of split-face concrete block up to about waist height. The light blue is stucco, and the white that you see in the middle is the same metal siding panel that we have on the gymnastics center, which is this panel here. Probably the most common metal building panel. In fact, this is the color. In fact, you can see it just go down to McNeely's store and the recruitment center. It's the same panel. So you can see it right there, 123 across from Cross Point Church. Here's a sample of the split face block, a sample of the stucco, and also a sample of the blue awning. It's a 4-foot deep awning, about a foot tall, and that'll be for accent. So I'll go ahead and bring this up front so you can see that. Now, as far as the variance goes, the way that this comes about is the history of the project. We have a building in search of a site. We have the gymnasium building, 12,800 square foot pre-engineered building, has been purchased. Was originally intended for a site in Pendleton, but that didn't work out. So this site seemed to be ideal. So the office building in front is designed with the intention of buffering the gym from Liberty Drive. The nature of the gymnasium is, in fact, as a gymnastics center, is, in fact, it's a windowless building. We've added a great deal of glass along the front. You can see something of the floor plan on the site plan. Is the logic behind the location of the glass. We've limited the glass. Well, the glass on the front elevation, you had it there for a second there. There it is, right there. Come back one more. Yeah, there it is. And you can see the floor plan of the gym. The glass is located where we have a seating area, lobby, and offices. The rest is pretty much, except for the bathrooms there in the upper left corner, the rest of the building is wide open, it's gym. So you've got little children in leotards. it doesn't need to be a public spectacle. So we put as much glass as we thought was practical up front to give us some daylight and also to provide an attractive front elevation. However, privacy is a concern. So as you've seen last month, we suggested some graphic film on the front glass on the gymnasium building. We won't have that on the office, of course, but just on the gym itself. And the same kind of vinyl that you would see on a transit bus, where people on the inside can see out. You still get a bit of filtered daylight coming in, but it prevents people from the outside peering through. We did, however, update it for your thoughts last month. We originally had, I found a picture on the internet of some gymnast silhouettes, but the thought from the board was that it looked too much like advertising. So we took the gymnasts off and replaced it with stars. Pretty much the need for the graphics just goes up to 5 feet. Those windows are 9 feet tall. So really it's just from eye level down is what we're really concerned about. But then again, it's just on the gymnasium portion of the building. The nature of the exterior materials, the siding, it's part of the building package, it's what we have. So by adding stucco on the entrance of the gym, we broke that up on the elevation that is most prominent, which is the parking lot elevation. The middle elevation you see on that other drawing, is the side of the gym that faces the highway, and you see the existing trees. We've got about 60 feet of buffer there and some very tall trees that will mask it. Plus, driving into town on 123, you won't see it at all. You just drive right past it. So really, the main elevation that will be seen is the one on top and the one on the bottom. And of course, the office building, we pulled the materials from the gym over to the office to make it harmonious, as well as adding the split face base to give it a little more of a softer edge along the Liberty Drive elevation.
Thank you. With that being said, let me just open it up for public comment on any of the two variances, 2024-AR-07, 2024-AR-08, and we might as well open it up for 2024-AR-03. If anyone wishes to speak about this project. Okay. Well, with that, we'll close it and open it up to the board for discussion here. I'd like to try to address the variances maybe first, as Jake pointed out. So any thoughts y'all have on?
Oh, this, Jake, is this, this building design, does this adhere to anything in like CP1, CP2, CM, or public development? Would it pass any of those if it was put somewhere else in town?
No, well, there's, what you just listed were zoning districts. It does meet the zoning code in that it is a permitted use for this district. The AR district that it's in, located AR District 5, it does not meet the code for that, given the amount of glass and materials. But I don't believe it would meet the AR district standards for in any of our ARs.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So the trees along 123, my understanding is 123 is a scenic road, is that correct? Does it extend into the city limits?
I do not know what designation you mean. I know we have a scenic highway designation.
Well, I'm getting at the trees. I'm trying to figure out. So the trees between 123 and the building face, are those existing trees you're representing there? Is that what's going on there?
Yeah.
And they're in the right of way. So there's potential that those could go away at some point in time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't think it's likely, but yeah, you're right.
So
In fact, we updated our site plan that shows those trees. We haven't actually tagged them, but it's just based on the aerial photos, we see where those trees are, with the property lines imposed on them.
You want me to bring up your site plan or aerial
Yeah.
photograph?
Yeah, we got our site plan.
You want to do an aerial? Okay.
I mean, what I'd love to see is a photograph of the site from 123. I was trying to do it on Google Earth, but I don't have.
Well, we've got that sketch. Do you just have that sketch from last time, Bill?
So here's the aerial photograph with the property lines overlaid over it.
So what I'm trying to figure out is how much of the tree is gonna, the trees are gonna be undisturbed in place in your building there. So, I mean, my point being is, I have less of a problem with the metal building facing 123 if it's buffered by a significant tree canopy. But I don't know that there's enough evidence to tell me that that's in fact the case. And so,
We've got I've got a photograph from 23, and I sketched the building in there, and
right.
Jacob's got that.
I don't know if we do have that for this month.
We don't know how many of those trees are going to be left.
So that's the power line easement?
So there's
Right
a
there.
power line easement, is that shown on the site plan?
It is.
Yes.
It's right over the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then you're dealing with, assume that within the setback, you're probably gonna have half of the trees gone out of the 25-foot setback, just due to standard construction practices. So then you're really only looking at a sliver of those pine trees between the property line and the road.
Yeah.
I think if I were to, I would say that additional plantings would have to be added.
That's what I mean, if we had documentation of what vegetation is going to be left after construction within the bounds of the property, then I'd be inclined to think about
It'd almost have to be a tree survey.
tree survey and or a landscape plan that indicates exactly what's going to
Well, we do have a landscape plan. That's in that package too.
So based on the landscape plan, there are no trees left.
There you go.
Does have this tree
be. I didn't see any trees there. So you're actually altering the grade at that point too, is that correct? Or is that existing contours?
Very little is possible. The site's pretty level. It drains pretty well on its own. We really don't have to do a whole lot of site work not too far outside the footprint. Just a little bit.
2, 3.
But we're going to be able to preserve a lot of those trees.
So up to the property line, they're moving about 4.5 feet of dirt. So in the scheme of a site, that's not a lot, but in the scheme of a tree,
And you've got a storm drain going through there too, right?
but there is already another power line easement. There's storm drains under the other easement. Because there's a power line easement on the left, which is like a transmission line, and then there's actually an easement along Argonne as well. So they're not actually clearing for their storm drain. They're not. It's probably, yeah, it looks like it's daylighting into existing cleared area.
So, yeah, I guess I'm not seeing any trees in the landscape plan on that side of the building that are being proposed. Okay. And you're putting a storm drain down the side of the building that's gonna require clearing whatever's there, right? To get the equipment in, to get the drain in, and disruption of the roots. So, I mean, I'm adequately buffered from the street. I think there's a case for a variance, but because the intent of the regulation is to deal with the appearance of the building from the street, right? So, so that's one solution that I think could be possible, is to have a planting scheme. I mean, it doesn't even have to be trees. I mean, you could do a green wall on that facade or something like that, a standoff green wall, or you can have some kind of vegetative solution that would buffer the amount of metal siding that's should. The other solution would be to have a less industrial metal siding. I'm not against metal siding. I have it on my house actually, so which is I mean, that's where my head's at, is ultimately what is visible from 123.
Could you explain your justification a little more for the unnecessary hardship piece of the variance?
Regarding the,
Regarding either of them, the window, the glass requirement, and the exterior cladding.
well, basically, the reason for the amount of glass, now you're talking about the office building or the gym, or both?
Both.
The office building, we've pretty much, if you look at the Liberty Drive elevation, we've got about 32% of that is glass. And if you actually go from the ground up to 10 feet tall, that's 49% of the elevation is glass.
Okay.
So we got as much as we could on the, I guess you can consider that the front elevation. And as far as the gymnastics center goes, is the nature of the building what happens inside. We put as much as that would work with the floor plan,
Okay.
while still working with just the functional needs of what the nature of the building is.
Okay.
You can see that.
And how about the metal siding? Just the nature of the buildings already
Nature
purchased.
of the building's what we've got. And had we, not done anything, it would be all that metal. And so we're doing what we can to provide an attractive and proportional appearance that does not look like we just stuck decorated the outside. We tried to put some reason to it.
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, my interpretation of hardship is the need for privacy. Okay. For the occupancy type, okay. I think I'm not sure it meets the design objectives yet in terms of the visibility of that much metal siding from 123. That's where my primary concern is, I think. And so I was just looking at the.
So are we considering, I thought that we were considering the 123 elevation as the rear of the building, rather than the front, which the ordinance has more to be concerned about, this, public entrances and things like that.
And I think that's true. I think we always get very hung up on this unnecessary hardship piece. And I see the privacy need for the glass. I think that's a good justification. The fact that the building's already bought, it's a little more tricky.
I mean, to be honest, I'm looking at the Clemson Rec Center. Not that much difference,
Well, other than location.
other than location.
And,
But the program is essentially similar.
and you put this in any other location, that doesn't have the rules, then you don't have an issue.
Like I said, I think the use generates reiterates the conditions for the variance. The tempering of the visibility is not yet met, in my opinion.
So based on variance rules, the three factors, hardship, architectural, is not hindered, the aesthetic.
It's, to adhere to the regulations would result in unnecessary hardship. The alternative site planning or building design approach meets the same objectives as the regulations. The character of the district will not be harmed if the variance is granted. Those are the three conditions we have to meet to allow a variance to proceed.
You mind repeating number 2?
Yes, I can. It's number 2 is the building design approach meets the same design objectives as the regulations.
Like I said, I think there's a reasonable argument for satisfying item the hardship request based on the program. I think that B, and in effect C, is tied to B, in my opinion, because it's about the character of the district and it's the amount of requirements to address the character of the district. So I think either further adjustment to the facade on 123. I guess I'm.
This is a,
Guess
rather
I'm
than use. The door all the way over here has nothing to do
with
with that.
that
so
variance.
I don't think 123 could be
requires a site plan that demonstrates that you're going to landscape buffer and you're going to change the
Find the front
facade to
properties.
address the concerns.
But you see how weirdly shaped this is. You're over here.
Sorry.
You guys, if you're going
Is
to
there
look at-
something-
I'm
We're,
sorry.
we're looking at what we were trying to designate as the front of the building. Old Greenville Highway will be used to define the front of individual properties in District 5. District 5 basically is all down 93, so it doesn't regard anything with 123, so you don't have to say 123 is the front of the property
Yeah.
and say Liberty
The only
Highway.
thing I will say to that is that since they are going for a variance, and part of those criteria is to, you know, that you guys can put whatever criteria you want on these, and if you feel that it meets the district's goals and standards. But I know what you're saying, that yes.
No, when we have a property that has a street on both sides,
Yeah.
opposing sides, we have two fronts, right?
We have 3 on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a front.
So we, which is the front? Yeah.
Well, technically all 3. Like, one is functional, but visual fronts is they all have to be presented because you present yourself.
You can make the argument each one, okay.
Which, I mean, having 3 fronts could be a justification for hardship as well,
Yeah.
due to the uniqueness of the property. And I think that's something we've considered. You know, in the past, we don't consider any real economic factors as a hardship, and so that's why I'm having a hard time with the justification of that one. But the fact that it has 3 fronts, I think it's a little more, that kind of removes that financial piece from it.
So, for me personally, like the glazing factor, I have no issue with. I see the hardship.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it changes the character, and I feel like the approach is fine.
I agree 100%.
So, I have, like me personally, I don't.
Are you talking about the Liberty Drive side, or are you talking about the
For both.
Yeah.
For both situations. I think the Liberty Drive side, I think the gymnasium, I think the glazing is perfectly fine. Even on the Argonne Street approach, they still presented a reasonable front. So I don't. I mean, I guess, because Argonne Street ends in front of the office building. It does not actually go in front of the gymnasium.
That is correct.
So how they handled the Argonne Street of the office building is appropriate. So the fact that the side of the gymnasium that faces Argonne, they took half of that, they made it nicer. I think if the HVAC louvers are done in the same color as the siding, then, you know, like the metal, they won't stand out as much. But I think having 3 fronts is a very valid hardship. But I do think screening, evergreen screening on the Tiger Boulevard 123 side should be, because there are no doors for most of that side. But I would say from the right side of that door, under those windows, that entire side, there needs to be evergreen screening
From 123.
from 123.
Column line 21 to 26.
I'm sorry?
From column line 21 to 26. The high portion of the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say if there's no ability to alter the facade, then I would say landscape screening would be the solution.
I mean, that's how, you know, I mean, yes, we can say it's 3 fronts because it faces all 3, but I mean, it does suck. And that's an official.
Non-monetary
Yeah.
hardship, yeah.
Yeah, I
official
mean,
term.
Well, I think the
to
use-
take a lot like
The
that.
use and the 3 sides are the justification, okay? It's just now what you do with it.
Right.
okay, To meet the intent of the zoning ordinance. And I think it's a landscape solution.
Because it's not a color change, like, I mean, honestly, we could have them paint it, but that just seems silly. Because why paint a metal building?
Well, it's already painted, it's just got a very light color.
Right. But it's gonna stand out.
I mean, we could suggest darkening the metal siding, or is it already,
It's already purchased.
so there's no change in the color?
Got it.
Okay.
Which technically for us is not our problem, but
All right. So how do we proceed?
We have to vote on the conditions for each variance.
Yeah, I'd say that somebody maybe say, hey, if these conditions were met, I think that they'd meet the criteria. Say, 8 foot tall arborvitae planted every 3 feet along from column line 21, 26. Apparently that's not a good plant, but.
An evergreen tree of
And
a certain height.
it might be helpful
caliber.
to describe size and placement would be good for me.
Nathan, give us some
So
options.
we
here.
don't, so the idea is not to have them come back with a landscape plan.
Oh, that's absolutely an option too. You can say, conditional approval pending final approval of the landscape plan.
Yeah,
We've
I was
done that
going
many
to ask
times.
that question. If we can update the landscape plan as you suggest and just show you that without
Absolutely.
having to come back and do another presentation.
Yeah.
And that would allow them to move forward with the rest of final design, coming in for, everything like that, saying, okay, we are going to get there, it's just you need to get to this. That's fine. We've done that many times. We did that with the parking garage behind Bixby's. You guys approved the variance for it, said, okay, we need final landscape plan to come in. So that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
And so painting the building, is that something we want to propose? That side of the building, darkening the color? Can you pass me that one more time, David, the sample board?
With the stuff that you had is right on the board and condition.
Okay, thank you.
If you're the contractor, you can prime this and repaint it. I mean, it's a little bit of work, but
Any thoughts on that?
I mean, the only solution there is to like put like a mural over top of the existing paint surface, but again, if the buffer is designed adequately, then I think it's a moot point.
Which one is more economical? Repaint the side or the?
Well, I don't think the painting the side alone without the landscape buffer is sufficient.
No, I think
So-
it would have to be.
Looking at it, if we require 10-foot osmanthus, 10 feet on center, they'll come at about 6-ish feet wide. Then we will screen from the east side of the building to just the east side of the pedestrian door on that building. They're fast growing, they'll do what they need.
What's the total height? Will they eventually get to the height of the building?
Yeah. So, do you know the big, on Perimeter Road, the big hedge that blocks off the botanical gardens? That's that.
Okay.
So,
That was an osmanthus.
osmanthus,
10-foot osmanthus, 10 foot on center.
yes.
Okay.
I just like the number 10.
That's a standard caliber or size of.
I can go buy them tomorrow, so, yeah.
And you think 10 feet on center is adequate?
That gives them
That's a good
room to
solution.
grow without putting them directly together. So for the plant health, it's what would be best.
I'm fine with that. And leaving whatever trees you can get.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you're leaving any trees in your property line because with that sewer line, storm sewer going through there, you're taking out everything.
Well, and honestly, based on grading, I think there's probably a few shown that will end up coming out. I've never met a gentle grader.
Okay, so the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna vote on each of the 3 conditions for each of the 2 variances. So we will start with the second item on there, 2024-AR-07. With the condition attached that you plant, I'm gonna make sure I get this right, 10-foot osmanthus, 10-foot on center to screen it from the 123 corridor.
Don't give the quantity, just put 10 foot on center.
10 foot tall,
10
10
foot
feet
on
on center.
10, well, you said 10 trees though, right? Or no?
Well, that's what's scaled off, if the scale's correct on the plan. So basically, from the east side of the pedestrian door to the far east corner of the building.
Just leave off the quantity, just say 10 foot on center.
Yeah.
10 foot.
10-foot trees, 10-foot on center. Osmanthus. So all in favor that the unnecessary hardship part of that variance has been met? Okay, all those in favor that the approving this meets the same design objective? All those in favor? And all those in favor that approving this will not harm the character of the district?
That's, those 2 last approvals are contingent on the landscaping.
Correct, which we put at the beginning. And then the second action, the second variance request is 2024-AR-08. The fact that granting this variance, results in unnecessary hardship. All those in favor?
That's the glazing one, right?
That's the glazing one, correct?
Yes.
The fact that granting this variance,
I'm sorry, I missed that vote. Was that a unanimous vote?
Yes. The granting of this variance will not,
And the 3 streets, based on the use of the 3.
based on the use, yeah. I don't think we have to give justifications in the actual vote.
As long as they were discussed during the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That approving this variance will meet the same design objectives as the regulations. All those in favor? and that approving this variance will not harm the character of the district. All those in favor? Okay, so with that, both of those variances pass, and we are going to go back to the site review of this building, 2024-AR-03. So any other comments? Nathan, you said something about the HVAC louvers, is that correct, being painted the same color?
I mean, it would be an assumption, it's not noted what color they're painted that I could see, but they would just need, I'm assuming they're already purchased, but they would need to be the same color as
Just the
the
two on the
sign.
end.
They are not yet, but yes, they would be the same color as the
Oh,
siding.
all right,
Sweet.
Yes.
perfect.
One thing
We
that's
just
not.
have the building package, we don't have the mechanical yet.
Okay.
You guys would say the same thing you said for the 412 colleges want, that all mechanical equipment
Shall match.
shall match the siding that this paint on top of.
Okay.
Yes, whatever mechanical equipment we have will be in the alley between the buildings, though we are looking into geothermal ground source. So there won't be a lot of equipment on the ground anyway, but what there is will be in the alley between the buildings.
I don't see any, so it's just free flow between the buildings? No screening or?
Whatever the equipment requires, there'll be a screen if necessary, yes.
Yeah, we have, and by ordinance, any sort of like HVAC units on the ground have to have a bush every 3 feet pointed around them, or screening, like physical barrier screening on the other, regardless of the air district.
And that depends on where they put them.
Yeah, it does depend on where.
Once we get to that part of the design, we'll incorporate that with landscape plan.
Got it.
And put that in our final submittal for permit.
I think we'll also require a photometric plan.
Yeah.
Because they have streetlights or, parking.
Yes, we had that shown, it's on, unchanged from last time. Scroll down a little bit there. There's a cut sheet on one of those.
No, it shows the light, but it doesn't show photometric.
Oh, no.
And the reason we have small, bushes and lane, and parking median, is because we're under the Dookie.
Right away, yeah.
So the graphics, the signage, and the clings on the windows and the sign on the building, that's part of this application package? Or you're coming back separately for those?
We have addressed the concerns from the last time.
Right.
Final approval, we can work with y'all when that time comes, but we wanted to see what you guys thought
Okay.
would,
Okay.
the direction we should head with that. So
Okay.
that when we do submit something, it'll be part of the final submittal for permit.
Okay. Y'all have any feedback on the clings on the windows, the banner? I think the stars look fine.
I got no problem with it.
Okay.
I would have been fine with the gymnast, but that's okay, I wasn't here. But the stars are fine.
I think we were all good with the gymnast. It's not allowed because of advertising.
Yep.
That's why it's related to the business. So we consider it signage.
Code issue, not your guys' real opinion, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You can't have any product or service that is offered on the facility.
So how does art fall into that?
Art can, that's,
If you're a bakery and you do an artistic cake, you're advertising.
it's a weird one. And things have kind of slipped through sometimes from when it was being handled by the Horticultural Commission and
Yeah, like the taco.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Signs on signs, not on the building.
So I think just the updating of the landscape plan. The photometric plan.
Yep. And then what Jake said about making sure all the mechanical equipment matches the color of the building that's behind it. Any kind of pipes or gutters or any kind of supports.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other comments for our applicant? Good, Nathan?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm looking for a motion to approve 2024-AR-03 with the conditions that they provide us with a photometric plan, an updating of the landscape plan, and that all mechanical equipment will match the color of the building behind it. Looking for a motion for that? Looking for a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to jump around here. We're going back to the action items.
Recognize, Rob.
No, I think Ingles might have.
Chemotherapy.
Okay, I can tell my director.
2 years so far.
Is Preston Kendall here? Okay, we're going to jump back to you then. So this is for the public hearing portion of the meeting, 2024-AR-05. Applicant Preston Kendall, Ingalls Market LLC, is requesting a variance from section 19-701I.6 to exceed a maximum of 25% of the surface area of the window to be used for signage at 854 Old Greenville Highway. So Jake, if you would repeat our report on that.
Yes. Second. So again, this is basically we were doing the whole citywide crackdown of glass film being over the allowed amount. Ingles was, found to have it. They've had it for a long time. Their rationale seems somewhat reasonable. They have an office line there they need to screen it from. They're very flexible as to what the surface is. And you guys have full discretion as to if you want it to have art on it, mirrored, tinted, allowed to do products. But so they're asking for a variance from that. And with that, I'll let them present.
And if you just state your name and address, that'd be perfect.
Preston Kendall, 15 West Vista Drive, Candler, North Carolina. Thank you, sorry I was late.
It's okay.
85 is not fun.
I bet it was. Traffic.
Yes. So, we built this new store in 2005. And since 2005, we've had window screening on that part of the window. It started out as some advertising, and then a couple years later, it went to Clemson Falls. I'm not real sure what happened with that. I was asking our advertising people, did something happen? Did we have a falling out? I wasn't real sure. And they said, no, we're not real sure why we went away from it. And then we went back to, just because we do have this same issue in other municipalities, that you can't have advertising. So that's why we went to stick drawn art and not a Del Monte apple or a Chiquita banana and kids. So our name's not on it. There's really not a picture of a true product. It's all art or cartoon work on the front. So the reason that they're there is because our office sits in between the two entrances and it backs up to the windows. So when our bookkeeper, our manager, whatever is counting the money for the day, that's where they sit. So if somebody can see them driving in the parking lot, they can see the cash tills behind the counter. So we have to have something there to hide the daily office work from everybody else. That's just what the other gentleman was saying. That lets light in. You can't see out. You can't see in. You can kind of see out. And that's the whole purpose of it. It's not, we don't use it as an advertisement, we use it to block the office. And just, if we were building this from new, we would have to have the windows there anyway. Just to meet the ordinance of the town, the windows would have to be there just to hit how much glass has to be across the front of the building anyway. So we would have to do something to hide those anyway. So if I'm not mistaken, I can go inside and do whatever I want.
What do you mean?
So I mean,
From the inside?
from the inside, I can turn that around and put it on the inside.
No, if it was blocking the window, it would still count.
So that,
If you came in a couple feet or something, you could do a full wall, but it'd still be extra.
so no matter what I use to block the office, I can't.
Not without a variance, yeah.
That's why I'm here.
That's why we encourage them to go for variance on
Yeah.
this one.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
And I've got more, and there's more pictures, and we had a bunch.
Yeah.
We changed these out, roughly, depends on which direction they face. If they face west or south, they get more sun, so they fade after about 2 or 3 years. So we replace these 3 to 5 years. It gets new ones, just, or if somebody decides to come by, pick on them, tear a hole out.
Okay. Well,
Questions for our
no,
applicant?
I mean, in this case, the window requirement is intended to not have a pattern and not have a blank wall facing the public domain, right?
That's correct, and just kind of the vibrancy of open windows in general for, walkable and retail, you kind of want to be able to see that. But it's mostly an appearance thing. The only reason for the glazing requirement is for appearances.
So it seems to me that if the window treatment, and I'm curious how apples and watermelons are things they sell in there. How it differs from the last case we just discussed. But it seems to me that if the screening material was dark, that was more of the darkness of the windows as opposed to white, it would meet the intent of the code, so that you would have the appearance of a window from the street, from the parking lot. I think the problem that comes is it looks like an opaque surface, that's right now with the light color. So, so whatever screening should probably meet the darkness of the windows on either side, in my opinion.
I kind of disagree on that one. If you blacken those windows out, and the other ones are just tinted, you can still see in them.
I'm not saying, the screening material can still be a screen, like the same system we're talking about here. It's just that when it's white, it reads much more opaque than if it doesn't read like a window, which is the intent. So if you had a screen that had, if you did, let's say, a figure ground reversal on your images, so that the field, instead of being white, was dark, the images on it were light instead of dark. You understand what I'm saying?
So can I just put the frosting over those windows? Where there's no graphic, it's just a white frosting that goes over the whole thing where you can't see it?
Or a dark tinting is what I'm arguing.
So I think there are films that have the same effect because that glass is pretty much just reflective. That's what it feels like. You get it, some glow at night, but overall it's just reflective. And so if they did one of those, sort of, glass, I think we had it at one of the auto parts stores.
I know we did it recently at, it was an office building that we did kind of down in the hole that had been the mattress store. We did that with the basically blacked out reflective tint.
But it's just a film. It's the same thing. It does the exact same thing. It honestly would allow probably better clarity for management to see out as well in case there's a situation. still can't really see out that as well. So I'd say, giving the feel of a window and not the feel of a banner
I agree.
would accomplish. I mean, I see the hardship. This wasn't in place. They have to have the windows there for,
To meet that requirement.
code. Yeah, so, I mean, it's completely, a hardship that we have, that we require it, but you can't, and, for the office, so.
And visibility doesn't change depending on light, like from the outside.
Typically not. I mean, nowadays with the films that they have, I mean, you see houses with it and things like that. Lights on or lights off, you just, you can't see in, but you can
Auto
see out.
tinting, I mean, just think about the automobiles with dark tinting.
So,
You can't see in them either.
yeah.
So I have a question. I just can't take that in and put blinds on the inside and shut them.
No, you could. That wouldn't, yeah, you could do blinds on the inside, it'd be fine.
Okay.
I mean, but if it's a matter of just having it look like windows, then,
You
Dark
guys actually
tinting
do that
film?
too. There was a business that you proved that had an actual wall that had blinds put in between the window and the wall to make it look like a window with blinds behind it, and then a wall. And we also have the auto parts store where we had the paint clouds.
So the point is, you understand the concerns, trying to help you find solutions other than what you've got right now. I think a darker surface, whether it's a tinting or whether it's the same approach here but with darker. I mean, just even you look at the orange field and the white pall versus the white field and the orange pall. The mullions read stronger on the orange field with the white pall than they do on the white field with the orange pall. And the point of it is to get that rhythm of that pattern to read across the building. That's the intent of the regulation. So whether it's, and I'm not arguing for orange, I'm just arguing that a darker surface on the glazing, whatever you choose, tinting, same system here, would achieve the effect that the regulation intended to a better degree. And I think auto tinting is one option. Putting blinds that you keep closed is another, that keeps your staff from seeing outside.
But it also doesn't allow natural light to go in.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
then it's dark, so then I gotta put more lights in.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, the tinting is, you got a west facade there anyway, right?
So, and they may be able to even put the tint on the inside versus the outside, which would help it to last longer, kind of thing. So, I mean, to me, a non-graphical approach is the intent of the ruling, of the rule. So, I don't mind it. I go there frequently. I've never thought about it, but based on this rule, a non-graphical approach is the intent. And so I think that's what we have to stick with, is something that accomplishes the privacy, but and it can accomplish the light, it can accomplish everything else, but it has to be non-graphical.
I can see that. As long as you can't see it, we just see it.
So I think that maintains the character. I think it is an approach that upholds the architecture and Yeah, the hardship is that it's existing and he has to have the windows.
Tinting's fine with me.
So,
So we're going to vote to approve.
Yep.
We're still going to move forward with the variance. We still need the variance to allow the tinting.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're not good with that. I mean, we're not gonna do that. It'll look like awful. If you tint those windows, they'll stick out worse than they do with the graphic on them, because they're gonna be the different color than all the rest of them up there.
That's
So
what I was
We're
originally
gonna draw
thinking.
attention to those windows because they're gonna look completely different than the 70% that aren't on the front of the building, or 75% that are on the front of the building. So by tinting those windows, you're gonna draw attention to them probably worse than you do now.
And that was my original idea. When I was just looking at blacking them out, they're all gonna be dark, but they're gonna look that much different.
They look that much different now.
Yeah, but it's,
Yeah, but I mean, they've been there since
It's not-
2005.
they look
and
completely
Nobody's ever complained.
yeah, it's,
So in the rules that they wrote, I mean, I was trying to go through them and read, I mean, there's not a grandfather clause where they're there unless you change the building to a certain percentage of its value, that you don't have to bring it up in.
I mean, you keep changing out the film every time you take it off. It's gone. Grandfather, right?
So that's a maintenance item, so grandfather and him, you sure?
Well, I don't know what we're approving then.
well, I mean, we can approve it, they don't have to accept
They don't have to
it.
accept it, they can come up with an alternative and just use blinds.
Yeah. So we can approve the variance to be a non-graphical tinting approach. And if they decide to do it, then they can, or they don't have to.
You have another option you propose?
We're in 6 states, and this is the first time this has ever came up. We've got 200 some locations, and this is the first time that we've ever had this variance. We've had to do new store, or existing either one. So I don't really know how we're gonna handle this, because this 60 years has never been an issue. So, I don't know.
you know, I'm trying to think of what other option would look better or than this. I mean, if you like make it all like the farther one to the furthest left and the second one from the right, so there's no people in it. You do all designs like that, but I don't see anything wrong with this, personally. And I think making it like blacking it out or darker tinting would just be such an offset to the other windows. It would look worse than this does right now. That's just my opinion on it.
I don't necessarily see anything wrong with it either. I just don't know. We've kind of been put in this position to where
Yeah.
I don't know, because I know buildings downtown have had to take down their stuff. I have nothing wrong with it. I have nothing against it. Somebody unfortunately did complain, and here we are.
Did somebody complain, or was it just something?
Yeah, this came about from complaints.
Well,
Someone else. Not yours specific, it was about complaints of the graphics in general throughout the city.
So unfortunately, nobody's up here hunting your Ingalls store down. You know what I mean? You haven't been the first one for sure.
No, it's been.
We've had to review other people and deny them, and that's part of the problem is that
you can't set a precedent.
So-
You know,
Yeah.
so.
Just for the sake, and this is not meant to be harsh, it is not our job to create a solution. It is our job to provide the variance, and then they can provide a solution to meet that variance. There are plenty of sign companies, there are plenty of people who can come up with a solution, and that can be brought before us to approve that would meet whatever you all decide as far as, okay, will this meet within that variance aesthetically? Can we live with it? Unfortunately, it's not our issue. We have to just follow these rules to create the intent and to try to be fair across the board to everyone. And so just because we don't mind it, we haven't noticed it, it doesn't bother us, that doesn't really apply.
Well, I think our issue is from 2005 to 2020, when was this law wrote?
When it's law written?
About the graphics.
2014.
So from 2005 to 2014, it was great, everything was wonderful, that's how we designed everything. And then now, it changes. So I think our biggest reason we don't understand is why was it okay when we built it and it was fine, and then today it's not?
Well, the logic is similar to, well, I speed all the time, but I got caught this time, so why am I being penalized this time? So, I mean, that's the logic.
But we didn't do anything different. Nothing.
Well,
We can grant the variance based on the proposal. You have.
Or do you want a chance to come back?
No, I mean, I think that, can you send me the exact article? Would you mind doing that? You have my email address. Would you mind sending me the actual legal description of all that?
Sure. I think we already did. But
It was just nothing. If that's all it is, then it doesn't say there's no grandfathering allowed
well, there's
in that article.
you'd have to have something saying you are grandfathered. It's not everything's automatically has to come.
So I have to fill out another variance to see if I can be grandfathered in from the next one?
I don't think there's a
Because
variance.
it says that you can't. I mean, it doesn't say
That's
that.
a totally different. If you want to get an old grandfather thing, that's a totally different article than this article. It wouldn't be in this. That's just the general grandfathered rights.
So
Well,
does
I'll show you from this.
so I guess my thing is, does the grandfathering that says you can't, does it apply to that code? I mean, to that rule? Does it say it in there?
I would have to show
this
you
rule?
the rules. But I don't think they're something that we're get into with you right now.
Okay.
So we want to
Not
just,
for this body to address, so we're denying the variance, basically, at this point, because we have no.
we're just tabling it, yeah, we're not,
If you want, you can either give stipulations. If you want to deny it, you can absolutely, but they would not have an opportunity to come back for a year if you do
All right,
deny
so
it.
then we table it.
yeah, it's
That's
just,
up. Do you want it to be tabled, or do you want it to just be denied, or with the tinting?
I mean, you can table it if you would like. That would be great. Thank you.
do I need a motion for that?
I'll move to table this.
A motion to table it, second?
Second.
All those in favor, and?
Aye.
All right.
Thank y'all for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, jumping back up to the building and site review. Let's take a break from the variances. 2024-AR-06, applicant Brad Benjamin is requesting preliminary and final approval of the renovation of an existing restaurant to a Hip Burger at 896 Tiger Boulevard. So Jake, could you give us our staff report on that?
Okay. Where am I? Well, basically, this is the old Subway. So they are not doing any real structural changes. They're actually taking off a lot of the kind of facade things in there, giving the building a facelift. The only real changes to the site, the major change to the site, is actually adding a ingress and egress to the driveway for dockside, so they will be able to exit and enter out through that back way, which is kind of a big improvement from our point of view. We were really hoping, but we're hoping to get rid of this exit up here, but that didn't work out with DOT. But so this is just a renovation. So that's why we did put it on for preliminary and final, because it's not a new build. There's no increase in square footage. They are simply renovating, renovation to the building. There are some changes going to be made to the entrance by DOT's requirements. But with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant to give theirs.
And if y'all can just state your name and address for the record, thank you.
No problem.
Brad Benjamin, Radium Architecture, Greenville, South Carolina.
And I'm Haley Mann, also with Radium Architecture.
We also have representatives from our landscape architects, our civil engineers, our building owner, as well as the business owner, that will be able to answer any questions we might have that I personally can't, or we personally can't address. So, Hip Burger is a fast casual concept that started about 2000 and opened right before COVID hit. We were the architects for the Ground Up building in Greenville, South Carolina. And this is our proposed second location for Hip Burger. and it is the renovation of the existing subway that closed a few weeks ago. So our main issue was taking the existing building and the design standards that we had set up for the corporation, for the company, and applying them to an existing building and renovating that building, while at the same time addressing some existing non-compliant zoning issues that the existing building has. So if you can switch over to the site plan first, I'll address those. As Jacob was saying, we're doing a very minimally invasive change for the site, but a couple of things that are majorly impacting ingress and egress, improving those for the site. So as he referenced, SCDOT is requiring us to do a right turn in, right turn out, which we currently have, but not to the extent that is compliant with SCDOT standards. So you'll see those changes out there on 123. When the existing building was built, there was not a red light there at 123 and Holiday, thank you. And since then, it is now virtually impossible to turn left into the site. So what we are proposing is we've been working with Dockside, the adjacent property owner, and going to get an easement put in place and put in an exit and entrance at the back of the facility so people can now also turn left when coming down 123 going towards Seneca at the red light and come around to the back and ingress the parking, come into the parking lot from that location. We are going to be adding 5 additional parking spaces at the back. Currently there are parking there, but it is existing non-compliant, more of a gravel parking lot. So we're going to be paving those. And we're also going to be putting in-ground Sutera units, and we're showing those to be screened with plant material as required. There is an existing flagpole there. We are proposing adding a palmetto tree right next to it, which is the Hipberger standard that we currently have at the existing location. The drive-through will remain the same. We will be screening the rear of the building, which is currently not screened, which includes all the service utilities at the back of the building, the gas meter, the power, and as well as the currently unscreened freezer and cooler location. And Haley will talk to us a little bit about the proposed changes to the building.
All right, so our main objectives with the exterior of the building was to 1, meet Hipberger standards, and 2, meet the City of Clemson standards for our district number 3. So we're proposing removing the existing roof. Could you go back to that photo of the existing?
Which one? Here?
Yes. So the existing roof has this overhang. We called it the hat throughout our design process, but we're proposing removing that not only for aesthetic reasons, but our existing conditions report was showing that it is showing signs of rot. So we will remove the overhang and repair that as necessary. So by removing the overhang, it allows us to do a couple design elements that will make the ingress and egress to the building a lot more prominent, as shown in the renders. So for this, we're proposing adding a tower element. This would engage the corner of 123 and Holiday. This would be made of a high-end architectural panel.
You go ahead,
Okay, perfect. So this panel would be in the color Hipberger Red. It's a specific brand color that we would have specially made for this tower.
Yes. The sample is not in the correct color, but the correct color is the red there in the upper corner.
Yeah, so that would be the Hipberger Red, and the sample is just showing how it's put together.
Okay.
Manufacturer will not do custom colors for a sample.
That looks more like orange red.
It is intended to mimic ketchup from the designer, when the designer did the logo.
So also in that smooth architectural panel, we are proposing adding an element to the facade that would be the main entrance from the parking lot for customers, and you can also see that on that side. We're also showing canopies along the sides of the windows, more of like an eyebrow over the window, as well as canopies for customers on every primary entrance. The existing block and brick we're proposing being painted grizzle gray to match the Hitburger brand prototype, which is in Greenville, South Carolina. That prototype is shown on A303.
The painting of the brick is supposed to mimic the ground face black CMU block that we used on the original building.
Our submission spec'd a different white than I'm shown on the brick. Once we got the physical samples, the white shown on the brick matches the bone white that we will be adding to the facade a little bit better. So we plan on using another shade in the same gray family to paint, from the paint for the corrugated architectural panels. The perforated architectural panel will be a design element added to the front of the building. The back solid corrugated panel will be used for HVAC screening, which is not currently there. The back of the building drops down lower than the front, and the HVAC units are
Prominent and existing, prominent and significant.
Along with the HVAC screening, we'll be using that same solid corrugated panel to screen the new freezer cooler unit that the client is putting in at the back of the building. The current freezer cooler is not being screened at all.
You said the corrugated, not the, this one for the screening, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
And then lastly, I'd like to talk about the lighting that we will, be using. So we're proposing 3 different exterior lighting options. Well, not options, but different fixtures that we're going to be using. The wall pack would be just to replace existing fixtures that are there or added in places that they're needed. The cylinder is being proposed at all exterior doors, and the gooseneck is for the sign on the parking lot side on the light gray facade. That is not an internally lit sign. That would be lit by the gooseneck, and all of those fixtures are going to be dimmable. We're showing signage here. We're going to be submitting a separate permit for all signage. We just wanted to show the design intent and how it's going to be.
Location.
Yeah.
For that. But we know signage will be a separate approval process. Yeah. Any questions, concerns, comments that we may be able to?
So where's the perforated and where's the solid?
The perforated will go from, if you look at this rendering, from this prominent corner to the red tower and then back to the white tower. The idea is to let the existing windows shine through the perforations in the evening. At night, when the light will be able to come through those. The solid one will go from the back all the way around, and those will hide new HVAC units that we'll be putting on the roof, as well as the hood exhaust and a larger HVAC unit. Subway does not cook a lot. They did not have a lot of HVAC equipment on the roof. We will have a lot more HVAC units, and therefore we needed to screen them with something appropriately.
So in the elevations, the perforated and the solid are represented
Yes.
the same.
Yes, so the perforated and the solid are the exact same panel, the exact same color. Perforation's just up front to let light through because it's going over existing windows. Solid in the back to make sure we preserve our screening.
Just to clarify, the perforated has the mustard squirts?
Yes, I actually forgot to mention that. That is the Hitburger burger wave. So yes, it is representing the mustard yellow.
It is a design element that is used for the branding, and the burger wave is on the cups. It's on the
Burger wrapper, the fry container. The wave is throughout the whole brand.
yeah, and it's on the existing store.
What is the wave made from?
It is a special CNC laser cut element that is yellow powder coated and attached to the perforations. And these are the actual colors of all the items on the building.
Okay.
One question I have is the walk-in cooler refrigerator unit, did that have a top mount compressor condenser unit?
It does.
Okay,
And
so-
it will be shielded.
We
Okay,
will
so
make
the
sure
screening, the screening will be above the walk-in cooler to cover the,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
It's kind of a to be determined because that hasn't been purchased.
Okay, as long as it gets up
As
high
long-
enough, because a lot of people
The
do
intent
screening to
is
the
that,
walk-in.
yes,
Yeah.
from sight lines, it will not be seen.
Okay.
But she has a good point. We have not selected that piece of equipment yet. And we don't know exactly how tall it is, but we are making.
So you're going for the
good-
height for that?
We're making a good assumption on what it is. Yes, we kind of anticipated that, but it's not quite set 100%.
It just seems to me it would make sense to take it up to the 12-foot line.
Probably, yes.
A question about the white. So the side entrance is white, tower is red. Is that part of the branding too?
It is.
Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise white.
And it is intended to break up a large block of gray.
So the back elevation rendering is probably what I have the biggest issue with.
Just
Yeah.
this plane?
That is an understatement, yes. I mean, it's just a big sheet of metal, and that's what.
Screening the walk-in coolers.
Yeah. But you don't just screen the walk-in coolers, you pick up the screening from the top as well. So then you truly have a story and a half of just that metal.
One of the things that we're dealing with there is that the building trusses are sloped to the back and collect all the water. So if we didn't do that, then you'd be able to see up under it and see the equipment that's on the roof there. Without
Right.
significant structural changes to the building.
But the cooler screening doesn't have to be that.
That's correct. We were concerned about using a few too many elements in the building, so we felt like trying to keep it simple or pared down would be a better course of action. But I can say that's not a design element that we would hill that we would die on. We know that it needs to be screened, and it needs to be screened in an appropriate manner, and that was the intent.
I think what we're trying to look for is a way to break that up a little bit, so it doesn't look like one. Yeah.
Well, it seems to me that if you change the color of the screening on the cooler enclosure to match the building, at least you'd have two tones on that.
That would be a fair.
Raise it up to the 12-foot line so it looks like it's a continuation of the building.
And make it that charcoal color?
Because you still have to add screening on top of that for your condenser unit, correct?
That's correct.
At the building edge, not at the,
On top of the cooler.
that's what I'm saying, take it up to 12 feet.
Right, which is fine, and they'll still have, so if they take the dark gray up to the 12 feet, they're gonna have a band of the lighter gray anyway on top of that
Right.
to block the condenser unit.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's what I would do. Make it the darker gray.
That's perfectly,
Make it look like an extension.
that's perfectly reasonable.
And the red, green, and yellow eyebrows, that's part of the branding too?
It is a part of the existing building, that's correct.
Oh, that's on the subway, the red?
It's the existing Hitburger building that's,
Okay,
yes.
Does it bother you they're multicolor?
No, I was just curious.
Okay. Because that was a question of mine, was if they had to have all three different colors, but that's part of their branding.
Yeah.
So,
It is part of the branding, and, you know, like I said, one of
Tomato and
the,
mustard, I guess.
I understand now, I do, I don't know the.
Don't have the number of colors.
Yeah.
Side enough for like awnings and stuff, but
4 siding colors on any one facade.
Wow.
Again, that's not a design element that we would
Understand.
die on that hill. If we need to tweak those, that's possible.
Do y'all like the 4 colors, or would you like just them all to be one color?
Actually, as long as they don't clash, I think it looks fine. I mean, we've had buildings that clashed really bad before on 123 that had too many colors, but I have no problem with that.
Is that orange? Sorry, I'm still caught up with the orange that y'all are calling red. So is that a true representation?
Yes.
This is the,
Like 100%?
this is the
That's
RGBs of the brand.
That is a
And color match.
direct color match from a PMS color chip that I sent to the manufacturer, yes.
okay. I've never catch
I-
that
that's-
color.
That's orange. I'm sorry.
Oh. No, I think aesthetically, really just, the walk-in cooler piece. And I was trying to see how much room we had. So you note one place that you have shrubs going around the subterra, and then on the site plan you have a 6-foot screen noted. Are you doing both?
Sorry, I'll have to.
There's a 6-foot fence and there's shrubs shown, so I wasn't sure which.
Yeah, it's required to have both.
Okay.
So we're showing both there.
I just wanted to clarify.
I tell you, for Solterras, we have not required the fencing in general. They just,
If fencing is
We-
not
we've
required,
actually-
then we would not.
we've actually, for Solterras, we prefer not to have fencing because we found that fencing around dumpsters, you obviously need them just because of the appearance. But we don't like having fencing because trash tends to build up inside fenced-in areas. So if you guys don't want the fencing, we would not require it. Just so you're aware.
Certainly remove that.
Just leave the vegetation.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm curious about in that quadrant is these rows of little bushes around the Solterra that's close to a mound of vegetation that in that whole island. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? It seems like.
And we'd be fine with that spreading out because with the Solterras, we are a lot more flexible as how we can do it. So if you want to just take the same amount
I
of
would
bushes.
prefer to see that island landscaped in a coherent way instead of just the little rows of OF, whatever.
That's perfectly acceptable.
Osmanthus.
Well, and what's funny is, most people use too few shrubs. That is a lot of shrub in a little amount of space, even though they're going in at 7 gallon. These are related to the 10-foot tall shrubs I required for the other ones. So they're gonna get massive and they're gonna get butchered to keep at a reasonable size.
So I'd say fill up that
So,
area with the proper spacing.
As long as they're maintaining the view, because you do have a turning lane there, so you do have to maintain view. But I would say a little variety and just be careful of the quantity. I appreciate it, but I know what it's gonna be, and whoever's maintaining it's gonna hack it to pieces for years. So, I would say that all this, even though you're not doing major structural changes, I would want to see new landscape around the building. It's not going to survive this. It's going to be trampled, painted, beat to heck all around the building. So what you're saying is existing vegetation to remain. I wouldn't even try. It's if you're looking for a fresh, that's not how you're going to want to present your building on day one, is that So just a reality is it's not going to survive construction. So go ahead and provide a landscape plan that actually deals with that.
Could we get a provisional acceptance and then work with?
Well, possibly. This is just like, you know, that's just.
I think it's good to acknowledge that not everything will be survive construction. I've been around construction a lot. I know that's the reality. But we also don't know exactly what's going to survive and not. So there's a sort of a catch-22 there about, we do, and anything that would die, we obviously would need to replace, absolutely. But I think from what we were understanding was that there's nothing there that's non-compliant with the current zoning. Is where we were kind of coming from.
But we're saying that you're gonna damage all that.
Yes, yeah.
And so it'd be better just to pull it out and start fresh, right?
Right. I mean, so this is more of I would go ahead and present a fresh, clean, new appearance versus trying to salvage an old, tired, dilapidated shrub that is probably at the end of the day is not going to be how you want to represent. So.
I agree with that. So raising the enclosure to 12 feet.
Yes.
Darkening it, redoing the plantings around the building perimeter.
If you can survive, great.
And revising the Solterra landscape enclosure, eliminating the fence, those are the things.
And a new landscape plan.
And, well, a new that covers all that, I'm fine with that list.
I'm going to pause real quick and open it up for public comment on 2024-AR-06. Anyone wish to speak? Okay, it's closed for 2024-AR-06. Any other comments for our applicants? So just to recap one last time, raising the cooler screening to 12 feet and matching the charcoal color on the lower portion of the building, removing the fencing around the Solterra, dispersing and varying the shrubs all around the Solterra, and cohesively landscaping that island, and then an overall new landscape plan for the building.
Around the perimeter replacement.
Actually, with that first one, with the 12-foot, it's rare that a walk-in cooler in the timeout unit is higher than 12 feet, but if it is, just go up to that level.
So raise cooler screening to
12 feet
completely
or-
shield cooler?
Yes.
12 feet or
12 feet
shield
or-
It should be on us to prove, even at 12 feet,
Okay.
that whatever it is does get screened adequately, and we can put that in construction documents.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll show that.
So minimum of 12 feet would probably be the best way to move that.
Just that architecturally it would look best if it could stick at 12.
Absolutely.
So I do want to say, if you can save the shrubs, great. I just wanted to say that I've seen,
I understand.
best intentions.
I understand.
I mean, they're gonna be painting the whole building, they're gonna have to get in there, I mean, they're gonna go down to the ground with everything, so.
I agree. So I'm going to play devil's advocate on myself. If they want to set a standard for who's doing the construction, if they want to be very, very strict, painters have worked around shrubs. So if they want to hold their construction crew to a standard to maintain that, then that's great. Very few people do. And so I just want there to be, sort of noted that,
Well, all right, so we can phrase it that upon occupancy, the existing shrubbery should either
meet or exceed code.
exceed.
Or be replaced,
Or be replaced with the
be
exact.
in good condition or replaced, along those lines? Replaced in kind?
Yeah, replacing concrete.
Or
Or could they make that part of the signage package of the
depends on timing, I guess, of when they're coming back for that.
Can you repeat what you said one more time, how you phrased that?
Oh, that at the time of CO, landscaping will be inspected for condition, and if deteriorated, will be replaced in kind.
All right, anything else for our applicant before we? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve 2024-AR-06 with the following conditions. Raising the cooler screening to a minimum of 12 feet or completely shielding off the cooler and matching the color of the screening to the lower portion of the building. Removing the fencing around the solterra, dispersing and varying the shrubs in the bed around the solterra, and cohesively landscaping the island. And then at the time of CO, basically having the city look at the landscape and replacing any damaged landscape with equivalent landscape. Look for motion. Okay, second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thanks, guys, and we'll get those to you in writing.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do I need to collect my samples, or are those for you?
Oh, they're right there. Well, thank you for coming prepared.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, we need to leave the material board here.
Do we need these as well?
Yeah, it's part of the material samples, I'm sorry. If it's okay, we would like to keep it all. Just bring it over to Rebecca.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to our next public hearing variance. We have two of them, and we have a subsequent action item as well to review with the same applicant. So we will start with the variances 2024-AR-10. Applicant Austin Allen is requesting a variance from table 19-11101, allowing for off-street parking in front of a building, and 2024-AR-11, applicant Alan Austin is requesting a variance from section 19-11103, freestanding sign is required to have a solid base. And so with that, we will turn to Jake for our staff report.
Okay, this is kind of an interesting one. Is everyone familiar with the site? Mm-hmm. So this is what, depending on it was a nightclub, but, depending on how old you are, it depends on what you call it, basically. It's down the hole right next to the police station, just the lot over from here.
The zoo.
Zoo, Crazy
Zach's.
There was a movie.
The Gathering.
How nice.
I think it was a strip club for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It was a nightclub for sure.
then, let's see. They are applying for variances that are pretty much related to the site. They have two. They're one for the sign not being solid all the way to the ground. The sign ordinance does take in consideration the height of it off of the main road. So height looks like it'll probably be pretty good, but the having pillars all the way to, having a solid base all the way to the ground, was problematic for several reasons for a sign that tall. Then the other one is the parking in front of the building. Now, they already went in front of the zoning board, because there's kind of two parts to that. We have a maximum setback, because in most situations, we like to have the building up close to the street and then the parking in the rear. And there's two parts of that, the maximum setback, which they actually already got a variance from the BZA from. Now they're in front of you for having parking in front of it. I guess it's probably best just to have the applicant explain the variances for that, but they did get a variance for basically the same thing from the BZA. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant to kind of go through. They're old hat at this point, to present to the BZA, so. Unfortunately, it does not appear that we have the plan. We have lots, yeah, we have them right here. But,
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Gallen. I live at 530 West Main Street in Cartersville, Georgia, and I'm representing Cafe Racer, the restaurant. I'm here to provide a little bit of context of who Cafe Racer is, because you probably have no idea. I've got our civil engineer and our architects to help with some of the other questions you may have, but very similar to the last applicant, we're a startup founded in Athens, Georgia. Morning consists of donuts, biscuits, coffee. Afternoons and evenings consist of burgers, chicken sandwiches, french fries, things of that nature. Company started by a husband and a wife that were looking to do something new, unique. This will be location, I'm gonna knock on wood and say, assuming the stars align, this will be location number 4 for us. We have one ground up that's open and operating just west of downtown Athens. We've got another that is hopefully gonna be under construction in about a month and a half from now, and another location that's currently in permitting down in Auburn, Alabama. Clemson was high on my list as the real estate development person, just because we love the college towns. We think there's a great opportunity. Clemson has, as you guys are fully aware, has grown, seen plenty of new life, and this location, as Mr. Peabody outlined, and you probably know, is anything but ideal for what we're trying to do, but our intent is to bring it up out of the hole, bring it a little more front-facing to Tiger Boulevard. Again, really just bring new life to this specific parcel in this area. It's adjacent to downtown, it's adjacent to the traffic, everything that's existing. We're looking to be good neighbors. As touched on a little bit earlier with other applicants, we will talk through some of the existing trees and everything that's along the right-of-way. We know DOT is going to require us to pull down quite a bit of that just as a result of visibility. The company, in large part, was founded on wanting to do what's right by the employees, wanting to do what's right by the communities we serve, and a lot of that has to do with utilizing green space to the extent that we can. And as hopefully you've seen on the site plan, and we can touch on, we do have a decent bit of green space that we fully intend to utilize on this site. Another point of clarification that I want to draw out is we do have a drive-through, and that is a vital component of this development, and in part of the reason we're standing here for the variance and just the site constraints. But we are not your typical McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Zaxby's, in that we don't anticipate 90% of our sales going out the drive-through. It's something a little more closely to 50-50, 60-40, 60-40 going out the window as opposed to 80 to 90%. We really want people to come, stay, park, visit, have that sense of community, and that's a big part of who we are as a company. So with that, I'm going to address any questions that you may have throughout the commentary, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Creer to address the civil side of things.
Good evening, board members and staff. My name is Christian Creer. I'm with Arbor Land Design in Greenville, here on behalf of Cafe Racer, and I'll keep it concise. But as far as the variance is concerned, it's largely site-driven. The site constraints that we are dealing with kind of dictate the layout. I believe that their ideal layout, we're working with kind of their normal site layout. The orientation of that site layout, ideally, I think would be perpendicular to the road on 123. However, this site is not really conducive to that, so we're dealing with like a parallel layout that then introduces parking onto the front of the building there. One of the site constraints that we're dealing with is in regard to grade, and from the standpoint of the parking variance, it does benefit us because we are going to be below grade, and you're familiar with the site, so you know the existing condition. We are going to build it up, as Brad referenced, some, but we're still going to be below street level, and so we are requesting this variance knowing that from eye level that parking will be largely unseen. The other The other component of this variance is that, in keeping with this corridor, but this corridor in general, I think a large part of it has front parking in front of the building. And so in keeping with that theme, we are requesting the variance.
Thank you. Do we have any initial questions for our applicants?
So, I mean, given the nature of this site, what I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around is the three-dimensional character of it. So there's no topography shown on the site plan. I'd be really interested to see it.
There is a grading plan. I'm happy to walk through that.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's currently 18 feet below the grade.
Yeah, I understand. I know the site. I'm just trying to figure out what they're doing with it.
So we are building it up to,
But I mean, then the other element that would be very helpful to me would be a site section from 123 to the back of the site, so I understand. So you're telling me that the parking's screened, I'd like to be able to understand what someone sees from the windshield of a car that's down into the site, of the building. I think I understand the concept, but there's no documentation of what that actually is, okay?
okay.
So either a model, because all the, when I look at the renderings in the package, it looks like it's on a flat site. And so, it's really hard for me to understand, I'd love to see a windshield view from 123.
I'm sorry.
A windshield view from 123, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think the building is intriguing, the concept is intriguing, and I think it'd be a big improvement on this parcel, for sure. Anything would be, but this is, would be one of the nicer things along 123.
I could direct you.
But I do think, you know what I'm talking about, a site section through here?
Yeah, I think you want to see like a cross-section view of
Through to the
from the
highway.
road to the back of
The
the,
road, the slope, the parking, the building, the roof line, everything that shows there, and then down to where you're butting to the apartments to the back, right? So, site section through here would be very helpful. And a rendering that shows the building in the site conditions.
okay.
I'm not seeing that.
Well,
Okay.
correct, we did not provide that as we couldn't see that one coming.
Okay.
I've never been, I don't know that I've ever been asked to provide that, however, would be happy to provide something. I would direct you to sheet C103, which is our grading plan. And just to kind of walk you through that, it basically is showing 2-foot contours, just to kind of give you an idea. I know Jacob mentioned it's about 18 feet below the road grade currently. We are showing the road is at approximately 724, elevation 724. Our building finished floor elevation is roughly 718. So we're talking about building that site up approximately 12 feet. So we would be approximately 6 feet below grade at the road. So,
And if I could chime in additionally on specifically the parking, this question came up a little bit with BZA, and again, given the site constraints, one of the issues we would have if we were to try to put parking behind the building is the circulation on the site. We effectively have one ingress-egress point, and pulling the building up to the road, they're in fact pushing the parking behind the building. We would have to do a pretty serious snake job with the drive-through, and it would have a lot of crossing of traffic, and that's one of the things we did outline with BZA, but certainly I understand what you're saying.
I'm actually not questioning it.
Okay.
The strategy, I'm just saying that I don't have sufficient information.
Sure.
I'm an architect, so it would be a piece of information that I would, one of the first things I would do is create a site section through there. And frankly, a model, either virtual or physical model, to study how this building think would help you sell your case better, and help you understand exactly the relationship of the building, parking, with the street.
Okay.
So, one of my concerns looking at it is, because you are 6 to 8 feet above, and where your dumpsters are located, you're actually looking down right into the dumpster area. So you're screening it from the pedestrian who's interacting with your site, but you're not actually screening it from who we would need you to screen it from. I understand whoever, the machines, the dump trucks or the dumpster trucks that come and collect it, things like that, have to be able to access it, so you have some vehicular constraints there. I'm not sure if there's an adjustment to the site plan or the wall location on that. I'm looking for a north arrow. So let's just say page southeast, where you have it sort of drop down in that corner. If there's a way to, there's a bike rack there. Maybe there's a way to modify the wall to accept the dumpsters in that location.
Sure. If I can interject on that again, this was something that I believe came up with BZA, and we explored that as the initial option for where we wanted to put the dumpster, quite frankly, because it was not along Tiger Boulevard there. In large part, we did not, because it would require the dumpster truck, to have to effectively enter the drive-through in order to do its job. So that in large part is why we decided to get it out of the way to a certain extent. And again, obviously, we're going to end up building up that backside, that southeast corner, effectively the most out of everything. But understand what you're saying.
Something that may be a larger plant material.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you have a single tree.
Solterra or Solution? Or, I mean,
Are you
this,
familiar with those?
I am familiar with the Suteras, yes, and that may be something that you guys would consider. There are, I think those, are max 3 or 4 feet out of the ground, I believe, and they've got a couple of different models, but, even if you had to have, 2 or 3 Suteras, I think.
well, again, the section would help, the section was looking that way. It would help understand how visible those dumpsters would be.
In other parts of town.
We did. Yeah, there are, for example, the Burger King. Right there, we did have a dumpster enclosure, but they did put due to the site elevation and adjacent businesses put a roof over it. So that would be, an option. I just, that's really not what you want. It would be visible, and you do have a tree. I don't know what kind of tree, but there is a tree shown adjacent to it, but that would be something to also screen.
I believe that's a sugar maple, that's shown on the landscape plan.
So the other thing is you're showing a sidewalk going down the slope from the street, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's meant to be ADA accessible?
Correct. Which is the reason for the set, or the turnbacks or the switchbacks.
Because most of the pedestrians are going to be coming from College Avenue, right? They're just a straight ramp down. Would be better. And or some steps, you can do it so that the landings of the ramp, you can have steps between the landings, or you can actually, instead of making everyone kind of do that zigzag step, know what I'm saying?
We'll put a staircase next to it.
Yeah.
And you meet both the ADA compliance and just a quicker way, maybe. Yep.
Because I think people are just gonna walk down the slope.
Kind of go back to the whole, most people are really gonna access it cutting through Village Green. I know we've talked about it in the past, having some sort of maybe
Connection there.
connection over here, yeah. At the end, There's a sidewalk that brings you from College Ave through that plaza, through Village Green. There's a little bridge that brings you into Village Green and then kind of through here. Most people are probably gonna do that.
And or come from the Walgreens parking lot, probably.
Yeah.
And where is that access from Village Green? I don't see it on here.
There is none currently shown, but right now, when you walk through this site, you walk right down, there's a little goat trail you can take right through here.
Okay. Yeah, so you should address that in the site plan, for sure, that access.
And that would likely need to be, I guess, a little further north, closer to the dumpster enclosure, just based on the location of the retaining wall and the proposed grading.
I mean, all they can really do is bring it to their property line now.
That's correct, yeah.
Which could be problematic, unless you talk to Village Green, see if they're amenable.
But it might
That's
be,
the driveway for Village Green, is that what that is?
Yeah. There's no requirement from our end to put that in there, just so we know that's where people are gonna be coming.
Yeah.
The only requirement is to have actually, I mean, you guys can waive the requirement to have the sidewalk going up to the road if you really think it's not necessary or not gonna be used.
Well, I think you should provide pedestrian access, but I think most of the people are gonna be coming from College Avenue, not from, you know what I'm saying? I think you
Oh, so you're saying
you can more
location.
graciously descend that slope than what you've got there. This is a preliminary review.
That's one of the variances.
the variances we're voting on, but
One thing I do want to point out about building placement, one of the other reasons that was brought up at the BZA about why it couldn't be pushed forward where, you normally would, these are very large storm drains dumping out from the state highway that just dump right out onto the site. So to put the building up here would be very problematic.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So just to point that out.
Thank you for mentioning that. From my understanding, and I'm not overly familiar with this site, but I do understand that there are maybe some drainage problems based on that, as far as the adjacent apartments to the south. Obviously, this development would mediate all that, and we would pick that up, bypass it, and alleviate an existing issue with that drainage. So.
Now, I do have two emails from the public. Do you mind if I read, or we're gonna open public comment?
Let me open it for public comment and you can read them. So I'm opening, y'all just stay there. I'm opening 2024-AR-09, 2024-AR-10, and 2024-AR-11 for public comments. Does anyone in person want to speak? Okay, Jake, if you want to read our public comment.
Like other restaurants on Tiger Boulevard, high demand throughout the day often leads to traffic congestion on Tiger Boulevard. How much daily traffic does Cafe Racer expect to generate, and does Cafe Racer have plans to manage potential high traffic volumes that could obscure the only entrance into Village Green? Okay, and then the other one is also from Village Green. Let's see. Does Cafe Racer plan to use plants, trees, vegetation to reduce the noise and light pollution that will be affected Village Green townhomes? So they're just worried about the screening in the back and traffic. Now, one thing I will say about traffic is the DOT has required this to be right turn in, right turn out only. So you see this big porch out here, similar to that. So we are, it's constraint to them, but that is going to be a big change for them, is that it's going to be right turn in, right turn out only to this site.
Clarification, what is vehicular use? Oh, wait, do you have to close the public comment?
We're going to close the public comment portion of this meeting.
What is the vehicular use landscape area? And is the lawn there artificial turf? Like the lawn is listed as vehicular use landscape area.
It's an outdoor dining area, or is that enclosed? Outside bar.
That will be open space, and the intent is that will be natural grass.
Yeah.
But it's an outdoor dining area. It's got a roof over it. Am I reading the drawing right?
No, you have a covered patio, and then to the west of the covered patio,
Correct.
it's lawn, but then there's an arrow that is a little confusing.
That's a little confusing to me as well. I believe that's just a misplaced
Cool.
call out. I don't.
Because there's also on that same page, vehicular use landscape buffer. I don't know what a vehicular use landscape buffer is.
Where do you see that?
On page L-101.
Oh, it's this other package.
I believe that's just, I have to think that may be a typo. I think the intent there is just the additional buffering from the
Well, buffer to, so
development
you
to the
can,
south.
to buffer from seeing the cars, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a weird way to put it.
Yeah, I was just, yeah.
No, we do not intend to park cars on grass.
Yeah.
That is intended to be grass, sod, areas for people that want to sit out in the sun and enjoy food.
So I would also probably need to provide accommodations for that to be structural soil in there. It's going to get compacted. You're going to get dead grass. I mean, if you're wanting it to be, as you said, inviting for people to, enjoy, then I would, definitely detail that out to act like a putting green.
Yep.
Massive vertical drainage, structural soil, so it does not create an issue.
Yes, sir. The last thing we want is a mud pit right there.
To relay the point of the public email, a photometric plan will be required, just to make sure that you don't have that light spilling. You are, just like he was saying, that site section, is gonna sort of, yes, you're in a hole from one section, but you're on the hill of another. And so you're now, yes, you're bringing yourself up 12 feet, but you're also raising the effects. And so your light's going to actually be traveling a lot more. And I mean, rightly so, it will impact that area.
And again, as you guys obviously know this site, it's heavily wooded on the backside of this property. Again, our intent is to leave all of that in place to the extent that we can with the drainage. So obviously that's going to play into the light pollution, but understood.
Yeah, again, you're not gonna leave, if it's heavily wooded, you're gonna fill. You're not gonna probably.
Well, how many of those trees are?
Those trees are actually, I believe the majority of those trees are beyond our property.
Yeah,
And so
like they're on Village
we
Green
won't,
property.
we won't be able to impact those.
Oh, well, I think we probably need to deal with the variance separately from the review, right?
I agree. I
Let's
think
get
we have
the
some good
variance.
feedback for them on the plans. So there's two variances. The one is for the off-street parking in front of the building, and the other is for the base of the freestanding sign. So why don't we address the sign first?
Again, I mean, the sign is also, to me, part of the site section. I'm interested, because again, the sign looks like it's way up in the air on two poles. From the variance, right? So, see that sign in that site section to justify it, right? And it looks like it's on a flat site. And so,
Well, that being said,
Well, that's what the variance is about, not having it solid go all the way up.
yeah,
That's correct.
Yeah.
so, I
So it's
mean,
you're technically, though, creating, you are now in a, what, an 8-foot hole? 6-foot hole versus,
17.
versus 17? And your sign, the base of your solid part of your sign is 12 feet out of the ground? So that would actually be higher than we would allow other signs in that area.
And I think that our justification in the variance from that standpoint would again be the site constraints that we're working with.
but again,
Well,
to me,
you're actually exceeding your site constraints. If you were still down in a 17-foot hole, then yes, you could, but you've actually now exceeded by 6 feet your need for additional legs.
so this is where the another site section at the sign would be evidence that would be helpful for us to understand and you to understand how high the sign is at the ground, at street level, and how much is exposed.
No, they're actually aware that they'll have to go for a second variance from the BZA if they were to keep it this height.
Yeah.
But if they shrink it down to just being 8 feet above the.
Again, I don't think we have sufficient information to make the judgment of how this sign.
Yeah.
So the site section is important on the variance.
Like, I don't have an issue because I understand the site constraints with it being extended. But I do have an issue with it being extended higher than it needs to be. So I don't think you have to have solid all the way down. But I think because you are like, hey, it's on poles, let's just, kick it up there. I think that's,
Well, first of all, the base is going to be, it's shown on a level surface. And by my count, there's at least 2 or 3 feet of grade change even in the base of this sign. Okay, you
So the
understand what I'm
base
saying?
is lower than the.
Just to be clear, the max height they can do without going back in front of the BZA for a variance is 8 feet above the adjacent sidewalk on 123. So that's really the number you guys are gonna try to have to hit, and that's what all the other signs in the neighborhood are required to do. So that is substantially shorter than what you're showing, but just to be clear.
So, yeah, but the site section will show us that, okay? So if you have a site section at the sign, a site section at the building, a site sectional elevation at the sign, a site section, this drawing, if this is the front of the building, which I'm not, I guess these are 2 separate drawings, but.
yeah.
But again, if we saw, I'll draw, I'm interested in the site section here, looking that way, and frankly, here looking that way. Because and maybe one at the dumpsters too. So 3. Okay.
You want to show that?
Do you
drawing
want
then, David?
one at the sign? Takes us from the road down
All the way to the
there, one here at your building, and one here at the dumpsters.
You mind if I take a photograph?
You could probably have that.
I think that's necessary to do the variance on the sign.
Okay, so do we want to table the variance on the sign?
Table the variance on the sign.
Okay, those in favor to table the variance on the sign, please raise your right hand.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, so we'll move on to the second variance, which is the parking in front of the building.
Given the conditions of the site, I have no problem with the parking, but again, I would love to see that site section. But I think, I have, I would make that variance conditional on the site sections too.
I have no problem with the parking in the front, because it matches the police station to the next of it, and the other two businesses to the left of it there.
And here.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Oh, yeah.
This building.
Yeah, this
It's
building too,
literally up
yeah.
front. I mean, it
Yeah.
almost matches more than portions
Yeah.
of the back.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm actually drafting an ordinance to change that.
Yeah.
Because we're also concerned about if we get redevelopment along, Abernathy Park, do we actually want the parking on the Abernathy Park side and not on the Tiger Boulevard side? Because right now, you'd be forced to put your parking along Abernathy Park if you're to redevelop sites, whereas we might actually want these buildings to redevelop having the park in the back. So
Yeah.
we're bringing that from the planning commission for discussion right now.
And honestly, with the max front setback where it is, they couldn't get, they actually, I don't see them actually getting parking anywhere else on the site. So,
I'm fine with going through this one without the site sections, but
Yes.
the other one, I think it's very important.
For the review of the building, the site development,
Yeah.
then I think we want the site sections. But I'm willing to go on the variance on the parking in front.
So let's vote on these conditions then. All those that believe that adhering to the regulations would result in unnecessary hardship, please raise your hand. Okay. All those who believe the building design approach meets the same design objectives as the regulations, please raise your hand. And all those who believe the character of the district will not be harmed by the variance being granted, please raise your hand. Okay, so moved. So the variance passes. I'm sorry, thank you. Variance 2024-AR-10 passes. And we've tabled 2024-AR-11.
Yep.
For the waiting on those site sections. And then as far as the building review goes, I have site sections. We're working in the dumpster screening, possibly stairs next to the ADA ramp along 123, looking at access to the Village Green lot, detail the soil and the soil drainage around the site for the grassy areas, and a photometric plan.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Does anyone have anything else?
This is a preliminary.
It's
This is
preliminary.
preliminary, but I'm planning on putting them on for final, so if you guys have any other comments about the building itself or screening along the green, if you feel anything like that, I'd like to get as much information to them as possible so we can
speak now.
speak now. Yes.
I apologize, gentlemen, I ran out of paper this afternoon and then had to run to the doctor's appointment, so I did not print the plans that Jacob is showing on the big screen.
That's okay.
Feel free to go and use them.
Okay,
It is my fault.
so,
And we do have a set here to pass around if everyone wants.
Yeah, I had this at
and I would like to
because I actually
see,
got not picked up my
They
copy.
were sent to you guys digitally, we just didn't print out the
I would like to see the renderings representing the slope of the land.
Yep.
Right now, this building is presented like it's on a flat site.
And then, for final review, just material boards, color samples.
And we have our architects that can provide that.
Awesome.
So yeah, as Mr. Peabody outlined, we'd love to
Awesome.
take care of that.
Awesome. If you don't mind passing them around, take a peek here.
Hi, Lauren McLemore at Studio B&A.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have some of the metal panel siding.
Yep.
That would actually be in this darker blue color. So that's the,
So that would be this one right here. That looks perfect.
yes, this is a reference of the building that's in Athens right now.
Oh, okay.
And so this metal
So
panel,
this-
yeah, we're actually gonna be using much thinner vertical panel than the one that's there. You can see that one.
Yeah, that's pretty thick, yeah.
Yeah, this one's gonna be a little bit thinner. And then these are color samples for.
And that's
their-
not red.
Is that
No,
red?
that's not red, that's
Okay.
orange. These are their abrasive stripe colors that are gonna be,
Surprisingly, with orange in Athens, good figure.
yes. We're blue in Athens.
Good for y'all.
And then we have, this is just a quick sample, not really a nice final sample for you guys, but of the wood.
The
underneath-
ceilings?
Yeah, underneath this, the
Okay.
canopy ceiling that are gonna be around
Okay.
there.
And then this siding as well?
So I don't think we'll have any of the siding in this project. It'll be for the underneath of the patio canopies.
That's a wood shop, okay.
Yes,
I would specify clear, or you will never get that
Yes.
to stop weeping.
yeah. I think we're trying to use a clear yellow wood select Kate dat for the ceiling soffits on the outdoor patio.
And then the kiosk would be matching colors with that dark purple, or that dark blue? Yeah.
So the kiosk in the back and the canopy over top of the drive-through lane, that's gonna be a pre-made aluminum black canopy.
Okay, so you're gonna provide us with more information.
With the canopy? Yeah, we can do that.
So we're particularly interested in the other side of that canopy, like to.
We will be
And
finishing that.
frankly, the top, that's where I want the renderings from
Oh, yeah.
showing the slope, because I want to see what you're actually looking down onto.
Yes, and so it's actually not as bad as you would think. Sorry, I don't know which sheet is on, but we've got, A2.40. These are actually from 123 looking down on the building. And this building is actually a little bit lower than what the grade, if we're gonna be building the grade up a little bit higher than we thought. Yes, we are not showing the dramatic slope from 123 in these views, but we can definitely update those to show the slope. But this is what it would look like standing from 123 down.
The eye level is right.
The eye level is
ground
correct.
is not correct, but the eye level
Yes,
is right.
where the building will be located will be flat ground and around the parking and the street there. But yeah, we're not showing the like dramatic slope, but we can zoom out and definitely show that. But the eye level is correct, and it actually you might be a little bit lower to the building, so you won't see the tops of the canopies.
So you're at eye level at the sidewalk, so.
Yes.
6 feet, 5 feet
Yes.
off the ground at the sidewalk. So we are going to see a little bit of that roof.
A little bit of it. And
A204.
Yeah.
What material is the roof?
right now, these are metal, corrugated metal roofs.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll adjust with the grade and filling it with that site section, and we'll adjust these perspectives for the final as well. And if you can see the tops of the roof, we did have a version where if you did see the tops of the canopies, finishing it out with a much warmer, nicer material then.
Okay.
And your ceiling soffit on the outside portion is this material?
Yes, but don't judge quite on that. That's a quick sample that I grabbed today, but yes.
And it's going to be pine
Yes,
treated.
yes. Wait, it's gonna be Yellowwood KDAT Select, so, and with a clear finish on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're planning to have carpenter bee chips in your food eating outside, because it's going to be like carpenter bee heavy. I can tell you.
Yeah, maybe add some ambiance.
Okay. So I would think of some other material for the soffit.
Okay, yeah, we can look at that.
It has that wood effect that you're trying to get, but
Yeah,
man,
we'll go back to,
this is going to be sweet meat for them.
yeah, this one that we
Swiss
have
cheese?
here, it's been operational for maybe like a year and a half now, so we can go back and see how the bees are handling this one and evaluate, yeah.
Yeah, believe me.
You know, they chew through my treated wood in my house, my backyard and my garden is a lot.
Yeah.
So
I even made a bee house in it anymore.
on the landscape plan, which I think would be, there's no notes on how you all are handling the remaining slope between the sidewalk. I know that's SCDOT, but I'm sure there's some type of cleanup or treatment that would need to happen there. I mean, if that's a main vision, honestly, your patrons are going to be seeing it more than anybody else.
The intent is that would be turf, just turf grass.
Okay. So you're also then talking about a steep slope, maintenance, like just
And all that kind of stuff.
just make sure that it's set up for, the success.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be hard to mow.
I mean, honestly, doing a tall ornamental grass that can just be left alone
Like no mow fescue or.
may actually be a better option.
It is, you know, I think it's a little deceiving when you're looking at the dashed contour lines, just because those are the existing contour lines that, you know, again, going back to the grading plan, you know, we've got about 6 feet of fall, but that distance is, I think, a little over 20 feet. So I think it would be mowable.
Yeah.
You know, typically like a 3-to-1 slope is mowable, and we're less than a 3-to-1 slope.
You got a lot of water coming off the street there?
No, it's being piped.
So we'll
It's
pick it
not
up.
actually, and I think you're gonna have to be dealing with.
I think the slope itself is really the only thing that would be draining to that area.
Yeah.
The storm water that was mentioned earlier is piped, so we'd be picking that up and bypassing it underground.
So the monoculture of hedging around the, like, it's just a lot of the same. You know,
Some variety.
please, a little variety.
Give us some creativity.
I mean, it's just, you know, I know it's a racetrack, but I think we don't have to do that with our plantings. And then, it looks like, topo-wise, it looks like you all are letting some water out on that bottom right corner where the wall ends? Or is there a storm drain, or how are you all, because you're dropping the rest, another 10 feet on that southeast corner of the site plan, C103. Is the parking lot curved, or?
It is. Yes, sir, it is curved.
Okay, so you're catching it in a storm drain and taking it.
All of the impervious area will be conveyed to underground detention, and then it'll all tie into the same pipe system that is going to be used to bypass the storm.
Okay, okay.
So the storm, where is the storm sewer?
C103?
There's no, where's the inlets and all that?
So right in the curve of the, it looks like the outlet curve of the,
Catch basin, I got it.
there's a, yeah.
But we don't see where the underground tank is or the piping is.
It's loosely depicted just with a rectangle in that drive-through area. It actually extends beyond. There's a large rectangle below the patio and the lawn area.
That's what that, okay.
And where you have your sidewalk going, it's on the north side of the building, running the length of the lot, it looks like. You may need to put a pedestrian crossing continuing to your, you have one there, but people are going to be crossing to go to their cars. You may need something there, because does that need to have stripes or anything there, Jacob, for?
I'd have to think about that.
Because you're leading people.
There's not a landing point though.
There's not a,
I don't know, I'd have to see about code on that one. I mean, honestly, that's probably where we're gonna end up having that sidewalk over here too, so probably. It probably would make sense to have a crosswalk here, but.
So we're talking about, okay. Kind of where we were talking about having the access to the,
Yeah, it's a question of where it would lead to though.
well,
You can't just end it in a parking spot.
No.
I mean, if we end it up, put it at an angle.
Well, if
to
you
this
shifted,
way.
if you've got a hatched area to the southwest
Shift
corner.
everything down.
Shift that up to that point there and have that crosswalk go across to that hatched area. Put the hatched area up near the dumpsters and not at the bottom. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, that's, I think, a storm because of the catch basin in that corner. That's a drainage corner. Yeah, I think could be why they have it.
But there's not a requirement to have a crosswalk there unless we have unless there's sidewalks over there too.
Or the access to Village Green is put in there, but then that's,
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the Village Green thing, because we can't just have it be stairs that don't have a landing. And the landing you would think might be on like the Village Green property. So I'm not positive we're gonna be able to make that like an official one that works. It might be an area where we leave out the curb and just have it kind of create over time, but I don't know.
no, the kids will make their own path.
The kids are gonna make their own path, so it is best to try to leave it like a logical place for them to put it in, even if this would like leave a gap in landscaping where you want people to cut through, even if it's not like an ADA compliant path, but.
Does that open us up to?
I think if you put in a
legal
sidewalk and
concerns?
it's not like, I don't know. I can show you something I've done, but like I'm saying, it's maybe not do an official one, but maybe just leave a gap in landscaping if nothing else, but I don't know. That's up to you. We'll see if we can make one that works, we'll do it, but I can show you some other places that done this, it's worked out well.
Understood.
We can make it work.
Any other advice for our applicant?
I say putting a coffee and donut shop next to a police station, genius.
I'm glad someone said it.
Completely ironic, I can promise you. Very coincidental.
All right, I'm gonna go over these one more time just so we have them all. Site sections, reworking the dumpster screening, considering stairs next to the ADA ramp, considering access to Village Green or planning for that, detailing the drainage and soil requirements for the grassy areas, photometric plan.
Renderings from Highway 1.
Yep, that's what renderings represented the slope at the road, and then adding some variety to the landscape plan. Did I get it all?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So I'm not hearing much about the building, so people are liking the general look of it?
I like the building.
Yeah. Nice and open.
Yeah.
Nice look to it, lots of glass.
Oh, the ceiling. Think about the ceiling.
Well, reconsider the wood ceiling. Anything else at this time? All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Jake, any new business, old business?
Nope.
Okay.
Like I said, we are discussing about moving around the whole, requirement for parking to always be in the front, always be in the back. We're looking at potentially having it for retail over a certain size, but maybe restaurants. We have a bunch of problems making the turns for drive-throughs and how the setbacks are set up, and the whole idea of having, addressing the lake, so. It's going in front of the planning commission, we'll probably go for your guys' opinion on it too.
Okay.
Just be thinking about it.
Okay. Oh, no. That.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.